now I want to do another island, Alice's Island, and talk with Cyan Banister, who you saw with Cyan AI, and Cyan AI, called out to Cyan Real, I guess. You're gonna be seeing Cyan as an avatar on Animal Crossing, who also has been attending a summit where she appeared as an AI, so it all kind of blends into complete intellectual chaos, which is as it should be in the world of virtual beings. So I am so excited. She did a fireside chat with me. The first Virtual Being Summit has been basically introduced me to the concept of virtual beings. First one of, if not the first investor into Michaela, and was able to, in terms of a dream investor, was able to put the dots on the page for me of all the things that were the trends that were coming, that were connected to what I was passionate about and interested in, and then connect the dots for me. And that's kind of why we're here, because she connected the dots for me and was like, this is a real trend. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I should spend my time doing. So I'm eternally grateful to her. And now let's get started with it. Hey.
Welcome, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome
hey, I'm a little out of breath.
Valinor,
hey,
thrilled
Alice.
to have you. We have Cyan Banister and Edward Saatchi here, and I'm going to show them to my house for the Virtual Beings Summit.
Yay.
Terrific.
Yay.
Can't wait.
All right, let's do it. I want to see your island.
I love Dodo Airport.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Have you
So
here.
cool, Alice.
Oh,
Thanks for coming. Sorry, it's a little noisy. That's the waterfalls. I like a good feng shui, hence the water features. Welcome to my home. It's winter here in Valinor.
Gosh,
beautiful.
it's beautiful. I love gardening, so this is really pretty.
You have so many flowers that I haven't seen. Beautiful.
You first, Cyan.
Knock, knock. Oh my goodness. How cool is this?
Welcome.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
this is the interstellar lobby.
OMG. Oh, let me see this Bitcoin mine. This sounds pretty cool.
Sure. Let's show you around the house.
Whoa.
Bitcoin mining
Gosh.
operation.
Is this legal?
Well,
Is this sort of just
we
North
have
Korean
fans for
kind of
cooling.
hackers wandering around here?
360.
Gosh.
Hack the
Oh my
planet.
God. Yeah. Heist the planet. Very cool.
This is very, very cool.
Oh,
So
look, it's Windows.
Sell this in game,
8,
or
I
did you
guess.
make these custom?
All in game, yeah. There's a lot of trading going on Discord, and I was quite interested in, the trading world. So that's where I got some of those. But the magazines and everything are custom design, as are these DIY hand-drawn signs. I'm happy to, what else did I show you downstairs?
Yeah, let's take a look. Yeah, it's a lot of good props, Alice. You're like the Morgan Freeman character in Shawshank Redemption.
This is inspired by Clark Nordhauser, or otherwise known as Brian Croft, who is a regular DJ in Animal Crossing. So I tried to learn from the best, but this is my basic setup here, where people come hang out.
Super cute. Very cool. So have you actually had people dancing here?
Yeah. There's limited functionality, but I can do 3 things. That's about the amount of dancing I can do. I can do joy. So that's really what you do when you dance. And clapping, exactly. So, full range of human emotion. Right.
Doesn't get any richer than that.
So I'll show you right upstairs to the panel.
All right. Thank you, Alice. Thanks for hosting us as well.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's great to have you here. I missed seeing you both in person, but
Whoopsie. So I went outside. I'll come back in a moment.
just
Okay.
I meant to take the stairs, but best made plans. I will make my grand entrance momentarily.
I like this. I like this little telephone thing.
Oh yes,
Although it's like too tall for the avatars. Is this to kind of torment people, or it's very cute though?
So I was redecorating this room in a hurry for this event, and I forgot to take that off the wall. It's actually from my Indiana Jones installation in this room. Actually, over here I left my outfit by accident on the wall there.
Oh wow, it's quite nice. Like kind of changing the camera angle and things. It's quite cinematic.
How do I stop emoting once I start? Does it just there we go?
Question I've asked myself many times.
All right. Oh yeah, exactly. I don't have that yet.
Well, it's so great to have you both here for the first time. I've never hung out with either of you in Animal Crossing, so this is a real treat. And thank you, Edward, for making it happen.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys being safe and wearing masks, and I really appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
I don't have a mask on.
I was joking. It's a joke. I'm teasing.
There is, I'd say, quite a high mask representation in the Animal Crossing when people visit other islands. So it's very
really
of you.
Thank you. We'll go ahead, Alice.
Yeah, so it's great to have you here today. This is the first, live conversation we've had for Virtual Beings as a panel. And since Cyan's a long-time investor in things that touch on the metaverse and social and AR and avatars, we're so thrilled to have her here today. And I guess maybe kick off with, Cyan telling us a bit about interesting things she's seen over the years, or how you see kind of the metaverse evolving, or what has you excited at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I originally became excited about the metaverse with, just like a lot of other people with, Neil Stephenson's book, Snow Crash. And, then certain things like there.com, Second Life emerged, and they had the promise of becoming, like this, and they were way ahead of their time. And so I think now, technology has advanced drastically, and we're able to do way more than what they originally envisioned. We're still far off from like the metaverse, but the fact that we can do this right now, and it didn't take much to set it up, at least on our end. On your end, I'm sure it did, but is pretty spectacular. And so I've been tracking the space closely for a long time. I both as a consumer, as well as an investor, and there's a lot of exciting things. Just runs the full spectrum of stuff. So I don't know if there's anything particular you want me to talk about, but definitely have seen a lot over the years.
Can I share my ignorance and ask what there.com is, or was?
Which what?
There, you said there.com?
Oh, there.com. You've never seen there? Okay.
No, I
so
haven't,
there,
actually.
So Second Life is kind of like the Microsoft of the metaverse.
Mm-hmm.
And there.com was like the Apple. And
wow.
It was really restrictive, and it was super, super restrictive, and you basically couldn't pull in any models unless they were approved by the developers. And so
interesting.
Yes. And then, Second Life was more of a free for all.
Super interesting. I'll have to look it up. Thank you.
Yeah. The interesting thing about Second Life is, you know, to my understanding, there's still quite a strong, low but strong base of users that engage with it to this day, even though it hasn't really updated too much, I don't think, although they are trying to expand into VR now, I believe. Which I feel like is a interesting thing about metaverses, is you get some sort of lock-in when you have value, when you build up, you know, social connectivity or in-game value that doesn't translate out, which to my knowledge, Linden Labs, you can't translate the value out of that ecosystem, or, you know, even all the bells that I've built up in Animal Crossing, they can't make me richer in Fortnite or buy my way into Fortnite, which is of course taboo in Fortnite, I should add. It's not possible by the design of that game. Same with Riot, League of Legends. But I wonder how you think, you know, either of you, about value that people find in these individual metaverses, and, you know, how that value may or may not connect into other metaverses over time.
I probably should chime in here, but my son is apologies. He's very mesmerized with all of this and trying to show me something else in a whole different other virtual world. So
we'd love
I'll take an answer for a second while Cyan goes for that.
Yeah, this is a Roblox question that he has, so I'm going to mute for a second. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things it makes me think of. One is just exchange rates, and that insight that people from around the world could mine gold in World of Warcraft, and because, you know, because that could be turned into dollars, and people were living on a few dollars a day but did have access to the internet, they could actually make more money playing World of Warcraft, leading to Steve Bannon running a sort of World of Warcraft mining operation. So, you know, it gets into Bitcoin and global currency and all that. And it seems as though blockchain would be the only way that you could create something where you can keep your assets, though I haven't seen that take off in any kind of big games. I know High Fidelity, which was trying to create a virtual reality Second Life, by one of the founders, was very interested in blockchain to allow you to transfer value and hold on to your stuff. The other side for the value that people derive seems to be that the next Facebook is Fortnite, which would have been hard to foresee, and that we are already in a metaverse, and it's certainly not the VR metaverse that I was expecting. It's in these video games that millions of people are already playing. And once you get to that metaverse, it would be very easy for example, for Lucy for Lucy to have our virtual being at Fable to have a virtual being avatar in Animal Crossing. And so it sort of levels the playing field, where, you know, if there was a fourth panelist here and it was Lucy, she would look just like us. Her voice would sound just like she was a real person. So I think it levels the playing field to allow AI characters. And, you know, another example would be, what would be the difference between Travis Scott doing a concert in Fortnite and Little Michaela doing a concert in Fortnite? Attendance might be the only one, but people would still have exactly the same experience in terms of the concert.
Yeah, just adding my commentary to that.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
That's cool.
I feel so validated in a very Animal Crossing way.
To doubly get my point across. Yeah, that's interesting. Cyan, do you have any thoughts on that?
I wish I did, you know, because of COVID. Sorry, dude. Because of COVID, you know, when you're a parent, you get interrupted by children. And so he had this dire thing where he had to show me something, but of course it wasn't that important. But it was.
Is he obsessed with Roblox? What's it? Because that's another example of one of these metaverse type social networks.
Yeah, for the past like 2 weeks, he's been obsessed with it. He really wants to earn currency. and is really interested in creating games that other kids want to play. And so he's designing his own world experiences, which I think is pretty neat. The Roblox creator app is pretty good.
And does he spend time with his friends on Roblox?
With me, no, but nobody else. He made a friend, a neighbor friend, over the yard. It's so COVID. This is kind of the future that they live in, right? And they were shouting their usernames over the fence. And so now he has meetups with this kid that he just knows from another yard in Minecraft, which is pretty neat. This sort of stuff makes that possible, which I think is cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I feel like the appeal to kids, obviously Animal Crossing has done so well since lockdown. I mean, it got released sort of just at the beginning, which is why I think the timing was a huge tailwind. But, you know, you can decorate and do things, but it doesn't have the modular level of Minecraft or Roblox, which, you know, people talk about them as digital Lego, allowing kids to really do that from the bottom up, really on a fundamental level build, even though it does look a bit more, you know, DIY 101 level, but you can sort of probably build a lot more. These assets in this room are all things that Nintendo created, which possibly is a little different, but it's interesting that he wants to build to share, to create for others, you know, rather than that. It's a social element that makes it appealing.
Yeah, he really wants, you know, a fan following. That's another thing, you know, like to have an audience. And I was on Pop Shop Live the other day, and he like popped in and like rattled off some stuff about Roblox in hopes that people would go find his games, you know. So he's 8 years old, and but yeah, he's really confused about us being in here right now. He's like, how is this part of your job? I don't understand. So sorry for losing my train of thought there, but I am back.
Yeah. It's interesting as you think about UI, like how do you talk to one person, right? Like if Cyan and I are talking to each other, there's not much we can do except for this.
Yeah, I like that. And looks like we're playing footsies.
It does look like footsie. Edward, if you use the left joystick on
yeah, no, I think I might. No.
Play footsies?
I don't know. I mean, it might be. It's too much. No, it's too intimate. It's too intimate. Oh my god. Okay. All right. I'll try. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's very disturbing. This is very disturbing. Okay.
Like, oh, I'm going back.
That was too much. That was my fill of intimacy for the year.
Oh man.
Well, one thing that's just occurring to me, because you know, obviously we had Cyan AI, is your voice is so accurate in terms of synthetic speech, and you know, people's expectations in Animal Crossing are such that the lips don't move. I mean, you know, there's a mask as well, but and also, you know, you would sound exactly like you, right? If this was Cyan AI, because you had to like go and, you know, spend time with your, was it Lincoln or who with your child to figure it out, you could just turn on Cyan AI and we would have literally no idea, because this synthetic speech is really, really good. Like that is sufficiently good now that I would struggle to, if there's been enough like training done, by which I mean like 2 hours maybe, then you have a synthetic avatar, a speech avatar that is really, really close to the real person. And I was convinced hearing Cyan AI, the voice was pretty much the same. Same with BizStone AI, like so accurate.
You want to know what's crazy is the training for it took like 5 minutes or less.
Really? Yeah, that is crazy.
I just read a
script, like crazy impressive.
And that was it.
Say it again, Alice.
That's not too much data input to create the AI voice.
Yeah, no, I just read a script and then I did some various mouth movements for different letters and got it all on camera, and they were able to do the rest. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Biz just earlier in the day was talking about virtual mortality, and I think there really is since I was tricked hearing that from you, there is just a sense of that, and obviously, it's very moving to think that our grandkids will be able to hear us at least long after we're gone, and probably see us too.
Yeah, it's wild. And it's interesting because we're going to get this like almost spectrum of types of characters. So it can be so many different combinations, right? Like these ones sort of look like us, but they're powered fully by humans. And then you've got the other characters going around in the game on the island, on your Dodo island, the villagers, who are obviously powered by Nintendo. So they're not really intelligent AI, but they're, NPCs or whatnot. And then you'll have another higher level that's sort of in between, that's smarter than the ones created in the game, and more approximates, either by voice or appearance. So it's interesting how this, like, the spectrum is getting richer.
Yeah, their.com was a little bit more like this Nintendo universe, but it ran on a PC. And so, obviously way before mobile handheld devices got to the point where they're at. So, and then the biggest problem that they had was people would show up and really not know what to do. So, because it was a creator space, kind of like Animal Crossing, but you just really didn't understand kind of what you were supposed to do with yourself. So they had the welcoming committee. They had people that would welcome you to the island and then show you around and all that sort of stuff. Whereas Second Life, I think you could just, your imagination would just run wild and you could do whatever you wanted. But of course, that place is not child friendly.
No.
So you have to figure out the right balance for these sorts of things.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have many Second Life experiences, but I definitely had one where I was transported to someone's island, and then appeared there without my clothes on. I didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel uncomfortable, but within the bounds of Nintendo, obviously that can't really happen. Although you can run around in your underwear, but sanctioned by Nintendo. But
in terms of having something to do, I think it is interesting that Fortnite started with the Battle Royale, and then once that was successful, introduced the Party Royale, where you're not really shooting each other. That there's maybe a need, when we think about it at Fable too, like how do we guide you and not overwhelm you with unlimited possibility or no like clear path of what to do next, like the hand-holding element. And then once you've got people kind of into it, then you can add more and more things that are beyond your core mechanic, which for Fortnite is shooting. But now, who knows in 2 years whether people will use Fortnite more for these social events than for shooting.
Yeah. Seems like almost, I wonder what you think, Cyan, from an investment perspective, like winning that toehold, that strong kind of niche where there's an activity that people love, and then broadening out from there. I think Riot, League of Legends, thinks the same way, that perhaps gaming and first-person shooter was their entry, but they see themselves as a much bigger play, fashion, culture, music, land and expand.
Yeah, I think I can speak from experience with Niantic and Pokemon Go. I'm an investor in that company, and they have a much bigger vision than just being a games company. And so I think some of these other players as well, so if you look at League of Legends, it's not just a game, it's also a competitive sport. It is, there are social networks around it. There there's a whole lifestyle associated with it. And I think what we're seeing is people creating, Niantic likes to call them forever games. And so the idea is, and I don't think that you can quantify the metrics of these sorts of experiences the same way as like, Candy Crush. Because a lot of people were like, what are your DAUs and your MAUs of, Pokemon Go? And John couldn't care less about those metrics. He cares about how many feet you've walked, or how many times you've engaged with another friend, or, because for him, he wants Pokemon to be in your back pocket whenever you feel like it. And so it's not, they don't go out of their way to drive unusual usage just for the sake of grinding you out. Whereas some games, that's the whole purpose, which is all these psychological hooks to get you to spend more and more money. And the company is, they have some of those, but it's definitely not their focus. And they've done incredibly well just really doubling down on the social piece. And, even with COVID right now, with, Harry Potter, they have the night bus that goes around, and they figured out ways to make it to where you can play at home but still be social. And, and if you're sheltering in place with someone, you can go out and, collect Pokemon or go play Harry Potter or whatever. But I think that's the future. I think more and more games are going to be a lifestyle. And it will permeate throughout your life, like people who are really into Animal Crossing are really into Animal Crossing, for example. I'm sure Alice can speak to that. But, that might be the next logical progression of this game, is that it gets to the point where we can move our mouths and we can go on adventures together. And, that keeps this game pretty much a constant in our lives, and it becomes a multi-generational brand, which is really powerful.
Yeah, agree with that. I would just say I express delight with that comment.
Nice.
I'm curious, Cyan, if you or both of you, because you're both brilliant investors, if you were seeing a pitch from a new founder, sort of pre-seed level, and they had two ideas. I mean, I guess I don't know how to ask this question well, but essentially, do you feel that the games as a social network trend, which I guess I would mean like Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, League of Legends, and Animal Crossing, and several others, is sufficiently, and Pokemon Go, is sufficiently far along that it wouldn't make sense to try to kind of take one of them out, or to become one of them, but instead to like build apps or experiences for those things. And unfortunately, the only example I can think of is the Wave. And, we saw a performance of that today, and we saw, and I think Aaron, the co-founder as well. But yeah, do you think it's not too, I guess that would be my question. Like, it seems both too late to start a new company that's like, I'm going to build the next Fortnite, but it also seems too early to build on top of those platforms, because none of them are open. Like, you can't really, no developer today can build on top of Pokemon Go, because they haven't yet opened it up enough. Same with Fortnite or other things. Like, they're social networks without being like at all open as platforms.
Yeah, they're
Anyway,
definitely siloed, and it's the same thing with esports, right? Like, nobody owns the game of basketball. But, in esports, League of Legends is owned by a company, and, therefore they control all of it. And so, yeah, I mean, I think maybe we move towards having more open protocols where there's interoperability, or data transfer between different games or things like that. But right now they haven't seen any reason to do that. I hate to say that no one should do anything in a space because there's already titans. If you have an idea that is new and innovative that no one's tried before, by all means, you should give it a try. I mean, that's kind of where, and also if you have some experience that you can lend to it. For example, with Pokemon Go, that came out of the maps team, and it is very map driven. So if you have some sort of technology where you're like, okay, what if we put a game on top of whatever, we can't even imagine it right now, just brainstorming, and I could turn this into a game, then I think you should, because I don't think we've tapped out all of the possibilities. And I don't think you need to take out any of these other games, but you do become competitive for people's time, right? So you have to provide enough value to them that they would switch their attention to your product versus the other. But by all means, like, there's more room for more games.
I find it hard to believe that, so Epic is Fortnite, Riot's League of Legends, and now Valorant, that there would be many, many, many more worlds for people to choose from. Obviously, it's a lot of friction, and a lot of capital goes in before even you release V1 as a game studio, and there's a lot of risk. But I have to believe there's going to be others that will come up and try and do that as well, especially seeing now the success of social. But it is an interesting question about whether they're opening up. I do think that Fortnite Epic intends to do everything really themselves, but as you can see with Party Royale and their concerts, they're trying to build it internally. But Minecraft did a massive concert this weekend with hundreds and hundreds of musicians that was opened up, and Roblox,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, collaborating. So, but I think that the Pokemon Go success, I mean, from Cyan, you're an investor, is such an interesting company and product, right? And I know you used to play a lot of Ingress, so you're OG in these games. But I guess from Ingress to Pokemon Go to Harry Potter, do you see like a direction or learnings or what's working?
Yeah, I think, so what I'm going to say is not on behalf of the company. Like, this is just my opinion. So not a representative of the company. I just have to give that disclaimer. But I think that, Harry Potter didn't do as well as Pokemon, and I think it could have done way better. And part of the reason I believe that it didn't do as well as it could was that Warner Brothers developed it. So I think that, and it's an interesting sort of dilemma that they have, which is, build the platform and then people develop on top of it, or maintain control of every little aspect of it and only put out a game every so often, right? There's different paths that you could take. And, I think Warner Brothers had a wonderful vision, and so did J.K. Rowling, but at the end of the day, where I think they messed up was, again, you can't just take any IP and apply it to some game mechanics and call it a day. Like, I think the Harry Potter universe really wanted to start over as children. And if you started out as children and Harry was still living under the stairs, and you just met your owl and, you discovered the world all over again, I think that we would have seen the explosive behavior that we saw in Pokemon. I think that the IP that they chose, where they're older and it's part of the later part of the franchise, was a mistake. And I think a lot of people read only one of the books. There's some hardcore fans that read them all, but for the most part, most people only read the first one. And so the Harry Potter franchise that you resonate with is a more innocent Harry Potter. And so I think that's where they really messed up. And I think maybe there can be another version of that at some point. But regardless, I think at the same time, Niantic is still a new company. They're still finding their footing and trying to figure out, what works and what doesn't work. I think that hopefully the next game that they do, they'll have more say internally, because the team knows what works and what doesn't work based off of even just working on Pokemon, right? And Ingress. But the good news is all of this stuff is cumulative, and they learn every single time they put out something. And And I've seen some mock-ups of some other games that they have that they're working on, and I've got to say, like, even just that format, they haven't pushed the limits of what you can do just in that format. And so I think we're going to see some really interesting things coming out from developers building on their platform, as well as stuff that they're releasing as well.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see all of that. And you have the inside scoop, but I definitely played a lot of Harry Potter, but it does seem like Pokemon was a bigger hit and continues to be the cash cow.
It's amazing because in the investor world, a lot of people said, oh, most games, they have this peak and then they peter out. And, you know, Pokemon will likely not be around in a couple of years when they had their all-time high. They have surpassed their earnings from the initial launch with less users playing, mostly just because they doubled down on community features. Going back to our community discussion, they focused on festivals, they focused on friend versus friend play, you know, different rewards that you get for playing in groups. And it's really, really paid dividends. And so I think they understand this game that they're building. And I really do think it comes down to John describing it as a forever game. Like, he doesn't want to build something that peters out.
Mm-hmm.
He wants Pokemon Go to be something that maybe you even, your kid plays your account, or you know, your kids can see how you played.
Right.
But yeah, he wants it to be like, it's a part of your life and it's valuable.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should take a couple questions from the audience.
Right.
So, you know, if folks want to type something in, and then I can read those out. So we've got one here. How do you see the future of little Michaela and virtual influencers for, I guess, Cyan?
Yeah, so I think we're just barely touching the surface on virtual influencers. You know, little Michaela was a sensation, still is, mostly just because she was one of the first, and Trevor is a genius. And, you know, I think he is at the frontier of paving what these characters' beings will be like. But as you saw with my AI, imagine little Michaela coming to life and having conversations with you and behaving in a more autonomous way. And I think that's when you blur the lines between reality and fiction in a wonderful way. You know, a lot of people might think it's dystopian, but I really don't think so. And so I've long thought that, you know, characters or virtual beings like little Michaela allow you to express yourself and explore ideas that maybe might not be comfortable for you. And, you know, it's just like any Marvel character or any comic book character that we've had throughout time. You know, it's just they become more sophisticated with time, in my opinion. But I think we're going to see more little Michaelas, not less.
Okay, I have another one, which is, do you worry people will spend all their time with AIs? AI people, I guess.
I don't, I mean, I'll let Alice answer this too, but I don't think so. I mean, we are human beings at the end of the day, and we're inherently social. And if COVID has taught me anything, when I ask people what they want to do, the first thing when they get out of quarantine is hug another human being. You know, it's not play more video games or do more Zoom calls, and it certainly wouldn't be talk to more AIs, right? Like, they crave that human touch. And, you know, I don't think we're going to get rid of that unless we have like out of control haptic suits at some point. But, you know, I'm not concerned about that. I think, sure, there's going to be certain people that it placates all loneliness for them and then they get lost to it and spend time in there. But I think that's a minority of people, not a majority. What do you think, Alice?
Yeah, I think so. And I think nothing happens all at once. You know, we evolve, we incorporate things, and it just becomes part of our, you know, toolkit for communicating, rather than becoming the whole thing. I think people always assume we're going to jump into sort of full matrix plug in and become, you know, babies plugged into the network and not going outside. But I actually think these things will all, you know, balance each other out, and they'll just become different places and different ways that we interact. And I don't think necessarily that, you know, one is better or worse. So I hold back on any judgment for, you know, how people interact or who they want to interact with. I think it's too early in the history of humanity to say, you know, what humans are supposed to be or do. So I think experimentation is healthy and interesting, and some experiments will fail and some will, you know, be huge. So yeah, agree with you there.
All right, last question for both of you, and then I guess me and Cyan should leave Alice in peace in her home. If I have an idea for a virtual being company, how do I get started? So I guess they're asking sort of, you know, their first steps, and people who don't live in the valley and all that, how they should get started.
Wow, that's a good question. Well, what got you into this, Edward? Like, how did you get started? I mean, really, I think, you know, it doesn't take a high-tech vision to get started. If you look at little Michaela, she's art, you know, and there's nothing high-tech about her. She will become more advanced with time, but, you know, that's not the case right now. And so, you know, I think you could start anywhere. Like you could go AI Foundation's route with, you know, sorry for the crunching in the background. Someone's opening a bag of chips or something. You can do like AI Foundation's route where, you know, it's incredibly advanced, and everything in between. So I think, you know, you could create a Twitter bot, you know, that could be artificially intelligent seeming. You don't have to have a visual component. So I say you start wherever your skill level is, if you're interested.
That's a great answer. Well, should we well, sorry, Alice, why don't you close us out, and then I'm aware that we've you know, we're your guests, so go ahead.
And she hops into the air like that. It's like, oh God, am I really here? Am I really in this world? No, it's a fascinating answer. I hope to see a lot more innovation. I think it's, you know, just the beginning, and there's a lot of people coming from different fields at this. And I think the technology, you know, thanks to people like you, Edward, and what you're doing, those tools are beginning to become more and more available. So hopefully people who have ideas that don't, you know, necessarily have all the technical chops will also be able to create more and more in coming years, and, you know, be richer and richer. So I appreciate both of you coming and taking the time to chat today on the panel. It's great to have you, and this was our first panel. So really appreciate you taking the time.